Have you ever looked at an old photograph, one where you're surrounded by people, laughter caught in midair, arms thrown around each other's shoulders? Maybe it was a birthday, a retirement party, a family reunion, or just a regular afternoon. And maybe when you look closer, you realize how many of those faces have faded from your everyday life. It's a strange feeling, isn't it? When you're young, you believe that friendship is forever, that family ties are unbreakable, that certain people will always walk beside you. But as the years pass, especially after 60, you start to notice that your circle gets smaller. Some losses are sudden, some so gradual you don't realize they're happening until one day, you're sitting at the breakfast table and the phone doesn't ring. This isn't always tragic. Sometimes it's the quiet way life moves on. People change, circumstances shift, and priorities realign. But it can leave you feeling alone, bewildered, maybe even a little hurt. Today I want to talk about the 6 types of people who often disappear from your life after 60 and why that happens. Not to make you sad, but to help you understand that you're not alone. These are patterns experienced by millions all around the world. And sometimes when someone leaves, it opens up space for someone new or for a new understanding of yourself. So let's take a gentle, honest look at these changes, one by one. And along the way, I'll share real stories, some insights, and questions for your own reflection. 1. The fair weather friend. Let's begin with a familiar figure, the fair weather friend. When you're working, raising children, active in community life, your phone never stops ringing. There's always a birthday party, a barbecue, a meeting at the club, a friend who just happened to be in your neighborhood and wanted to stop by. You're surrounded by people who seem to care. But after 60, especially if you retire, those invitations start to dwindle. The friend who called every weekend now sends a text once a month, if that. The group chats get quieter. Suddenly you realize some friendships were tied to convenience. You shared an office, a carpool, a church pew, but now without those connectors, the bond fades. Take Mr. Henry, for example, a lively, warm-hearted man who spent 35 years at the same company. He was always the first to arrive at the after-work gatherings, always ready to lend a hand with a move or a fundraiser. When he retired, he expected the same camaraderie to continue. But after a few months, the calls stopped coming. He was no longer part of the daily gossip, no longer in the loop for the poker nights. He tried to reach out, but sensed an awkwardness, a distance he didn't understand. At first, he felt bitter. But eventually, he realized that some friendships were built on shared situations, not deep emotional connections. And as he let those fade, he found more time for his family, his hobbies, and the few friends who truly cared. How many of your friendships are situational, built around work, activities, or mutual convenience? Which of your friends would still show up if you needed help, or if you had nothing to offer in return? Letting go of fair weather friends can be painful, but it's also freeing. It reminds you that genuine friendship is about more than proximity or shared routines. It's about loyalty, empathy, and real connection. 2. The busy family member. The second type who often disappears after 60, the busy family member. We all know someone like this. Maybe it's a son or daughter who lives in another city, a niece who used to visit every weekend, or a sibling who promised to stay in touch. When you were younger, family events were non-negotiable holidays, weddings, Sunday dinners. But as everyone ages, life gets hectic. Schedules clash, kids grow up and move out, careers accelerate. Suddenly, it feels like the only time you see family is through a screen or at major life events. Consider Mrs. Linda, a grandmother of 4. For decades, her house was the center of family life: birthday parties, Sunday lunches, Christmas mornings. She loved nothing more than cooking for her loved ones and hearing their laughter echo through her kitchen. But after 60, things changed. Her son took a demanding job overseas. Her daughter's weekends filled with sports, birthday parties, and endless errands. Her husband passed away, and the family stopped gathering as often. She found herself waiting for phone calls that never came, birthdays marked by video chats instead of cake. She tried not to take it personally. She knew her children loved her, but their lives had moved on, and while she was always a phone call away, She sometimes wondered, had she become invisible? Do you feel the absence of a family member who's too busy now? Do you sometimes resent it? Or do you find ways to connect short calls, letters, a quick coffee, even if it's not the way it used to be? It's easy to feel forgotten, but sometimes loving from a distance is all that's possible. Your value does not diminish just because you aren't at the center of everyone's world. You matter whether or not they remember to call. 3. The workplace acquaintance. Next, the workplace acquaintance. We spend so much of our adult lives at work that it's easy to blur the line between colleague and friend. There are office parties, shared jokes, late-night emails, and mutual frustrations. Some coworkers do become lifelong friends, but many, if we're honest, fade into the background as soon as we clock out for the last time. After 60, especially after retirement, many people are surprised by how quickly they lose contact with former colleagues. Let's meet Mr. Ravi, a former school principal. For nearly 40 years, he ate lunch with the same group of teachers. They celebrated birthdays, supported each other through crises, even traveled together. When Mr. Ravi retired, he thought he'd see them often. For a while, they invited him to staff events. But slowly, the calls stopped. New teachers arrived. The old group broke apart. When Ravi tried to reach out, he realized their conversations revolved around school, something he was no longer a part of. At first, he felt isolated, even rejected. But then he realized without the shared context, their connection faded. He began to focus on new activities, volunteering at the library, mentoring young teachers, joining a gardening club. He found fresh purpose and made new friends who saw him for who he was, not just for the job he once did. Have you lost touch with people you thought were friends, but were really connected by circumstance? Have you grieved those losses, or have you found new communities that welcome you for your wisdom and experience? It's natural to miss the energy of the workplace, but life after 60 is also an invitation to discover who you are without the title, the uniform, or the schedule. 4. The social butterfly. Every circle has one. The person who organizes gatherings, starts group chats, brings everyone together. In your younger years, they kept the group alive, made plans, called you out of the blue. But after 60, things change. Sometimes the social butterfly moves on. Maybe they relocate, face their own health issues, or simply burn out. Other times, you might lose the energy or desire to keep up with constant socializing. Let's look at Mrs. Evelyn, the heart of her neighborhood for over 30 years. She hosted dinner parties, ran the annual garage sale, and kept everyone connected. But after turning 65, she started to slow down. A knee replacement, some chronic pain, and the loss of her husband made it harder to entertain. Gradually, the invites dried up. The younger neighbors started their own groups. Evelyn's phone was suddenly silent. She grieved the loss of her old identity. But with time, she learned to appreciate quieter evenings, reading, knitting, enjoying a cup of tea. She still cherished her neighbors, but on her own terms. Sometimes she'd host a small tea party for 1 or 2 close friends instead of a crowd. Has your own role in your social circle changed? Do you feel left behind by those who keep the group going? Or have you found peace in slowing down? What does connection look like for you now? It's normal to miss the days of busy calendars and buzzing phones. But solitude isn't the same as loneliness. Sometimes it's in the quiet moments that you rediscover yourself. 5. The old flame. Now, let's talk about the old flame. By 60, most people have loved and lost at least once. Maybe it was a high school sweetheart, a college romance, or even a long marriage that ended in divorce or death. These people often linger in your memory, shaping your view of love, trust, and companionship. But after 60, old flames tend to fade away for good. Some remarry, some move far away, some pass on, leaving you with only memories and maybe a few old letters. Let's hear from Mr. James, a widower. James married his childhood sweetheart, Ruth. They spent 40 years together before Ruth passed away after a long illness. In the months that followed, James found himself thinking about Linda, his first love from high school. He even reached out only to discover that Linda had remarried and was living a happy life far away. They exchanged a few emails, shared some old stories, but soon the conversations faded. James realized that those memories belonged to another chapter. He honored them, but also learned to focus on new beginnings. He started attending a local book club, made new friends, and eventually opened his heart to the possibility of love again. Is there an old flame in your past who still haunts your heart? Have you tried to rekindle old connections, or are you learning to cherish memories while moving forward? It's natural to feel nostalgia for lost loves, but the future still holds the possibility of connection, companionship, and joy. 6. The companion in adversity. Last but not least, the companion in adversity. Throughout life, we form deep bonds with people during difficult times, illness, grief, financial struggle, or major life transitions. These friendships often feel indestructible, forged in the fire of shared hardship. But after 60, many of these companions drift away. Perhaps the crisis passes. Perhaps their own lives change. Or perhaps with healing, you no longer need each other in the same way. Let's meet Maria, who battled cancer in her late 50s. During her treatment, she became close to another patient, Barbara. They sat together during chemo, swapped books, and comforted each other. After Maria recovered, she tried to keep in touch, but Barbara moved away. They exchanged holiday cards, but their friendship slowly faded. At first, Maria felt abandoned, but in time she realized that their connection had served a purpose. They had helped each other through the worst, and it was okay to let go. Have you lost touch with people who were your lifeline during hard times? Do you mourn those friendships, or do you honor them for the season they were in your life? Sometimes, friendships are meant to be temporary, powerful, but not permanent. They teach us resilience, compassion, and gratitude. If you're listening to this and feeling a little sad, please know you're not alone. Almost everyone over 60 has felt the sting of losing people they thought would always be there. But loss is not just about emptiness. It's about making space. When someone leaves, it often creates room for growth, new friends, new hobbies, new self-understanding. Some people will always be with you in memory, if not in presence. Others will drift in and out as the seasons of your life change. Instead of focusing on who's gone, try to notice who remains. The neighbor who still checks on you. The friend who calls, even if it's just once a year. The stranger who smiles as you walk by. And most importantly, yourself. You are your own companion for every season through every loss. So, as you reflect on the 6 people who often disappear from your life after 60, the fair weather friend, the busy family member, the workplace acquaintance, the social butterfly, the old flame, and the companion in adversity, ask yourself, what have I gained even as I've lost? Maybe you have more time for reflection, more space for new relationships, more energy for what truly matters. Loss is part of aging, yes, but so is discovery. So is resilience. So is the quiet strength of starting again. You are not less worthy because your circle has grown smaller. You are not less loved because someone has moved on. You are not invisible, even if the phone is silent. Today, choose to honor those who've left and to cherish those who remain, including yourself. And if you're feeling brave, reach out. Call an old friend, send a letter, join a new group, or simply take yourself for a walk and notice the world around you. Life after 60 isn't just about letting go. It's about welcoming what comes next with hope, with grace, with an open heart. Thank you for listening. If this touched you, share your story in the comments below. Let's support each other as we walk through these seasons together.